What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. Today I have a quick tips and tricks video for you, and I want to discuss a point that is building off of my previous video about my top 3 rules to improve your passing game immediately. And essentially this video is going to be discussing how to run off coverage or how to run off defenders in order to create space for yourself. And essentially this ties back to that 3 rules video, because you're going to be creating an open spot of the field whenever you're trying to run off defenders, and that is the spot of the field that you're going to target. So in today's video I want to show you exactly how to do that real quick. Not going to take a long time because it is a very simple concept, but if it is something that you're not aware of, it is something that can increasingly improve your offense. So I'm just going to run a Hawks under Seahawks play here on offense. I'm going to call a random play on defense. Now what we're going to be looking to do here in this play is run off a defender in order to create a space on your defense. Now this isn't 100% going to work all the time, but let's say for example that middle linebacker lined up over my right tackle, lined up over number 72 up there. Let's say I want to get him out of there and I want to get space underneath of him for a nice little drag route. What I'm going to do in order to create that space is I'm going to take number 88 and I'm going to send him on a streak. It has to be a player that is closest to that defender and close enough to that defender that they're going to trigger their coverage against them and try to track that player. So what's going to happen on this play, and you'll see it as well with Tyler Lockett on the left side and Moore on the right side, because they're all going upfield, those players that are defending them, even if they're in zone coverage, are going to be triggered to move with them at least a little bit, even if they're in zone coverage. And what that's going to do is that's going to open up space for your under routes, your slant routes, anything underneath to get open. And you can do this at any part of the field. I could put circle on a streak route and open up that outside place and put Greg Olsen on an out route, and he'd probably have space to catch the ball underneath because I'm running off that edge corner. So let's run one play here and show you how it works. And so what I want you guys to see is essentially what happened with Olsen, the tight end, on this play. Very straightforward what happened. This was what I was specifically trying to do. I specifically wanted to create space right here where this linebacker was, so I sent Olsen on a streak, which is going to somewhat trigger this linebacker to back off in his coverage. He's not going to cover as shallow. He's going to cover a bit deeper because he recognizes Olsen's going upfield. Now it can be much more emphasized than this, because this guy isn't 100% locking onto Olsen. It can be even more emphasized than this, but what this is doing is this is creating an open part of the field for you. It's creating a pocket for you. Now this defender did a good job of sticking underneath because I think he recognized that the outside receiver was coming in on this route, but what you'll see is these two players break open into the part of the field that I was trying to get open by getting that linebacker to back off in his coverage. And that is all you have to do if you want to get that part of the field open. Now it's not going to work 100% of the time. Like, let's say I wanted to open up the outside on the right here. This might be a zone, so we're going to try to get it to work, but if I wanted to open up the outside for an out route for Greg Olsen, for example, I would put him on the out route and I would have the other two run deeper routes to try and run those defenders off. And in that case it was a zone, so he's not necessarily going to be open. But what I can show you is what happens with the outside corner, because that's what's going to happen, especially if you're in man coverage. This is what you're trying to get the defenders to do. You're trying to get these defenders to track your players deep, and that leaves the opening underneath. Now, like I said, you're not 100% going to get these defenders to run off. If I had a quicker player running a little out route here underneath, I even got this player, this linebacker, to back off in coverage. This is what you're going to see a lot of the time. This player has this, you guys will see he has this underneath zone here where the tight end ends up catching the ball, but you'll see his first steps are backwards. You know, this is a blue zone. This is a zone where he's supposed to immediately go over and cover this area of the field, but he doesn't, because I send this guy on a streak and his first steps are to track backwards. As you guys can see, he's backpedaling to this wide receiver. Now obviously this wide receiver is open on this play and you would throw it to this player, but what I'm trying to get you guys to recognize, if you don't already do this, is that you can back players off on the defense. You can run them off in order to get spacing, in order to get players players open underneath because of the motion of those players going deep. And as you guys can see, he's continuing to backpedal. So if Olsen was quicker, maybe if this was a wide receiver or a halfback, he'd already be out here, and you'd have this opening here because you ran off the outside corner and you ran back this linebacker that is probably deeper than he should be. I mean, when you're talking about the line of scrimmage, this linebacker, like I said, is probably in a blue zone. He should be hanging out between the 30 and the 35-yard line, and he ends up as far back as the 20-yard line. So that's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. If you run players on deeper routes, you can get those defenders to track them and thus create space underneath and create openings for you to pass the football, create open areas of the field. And like I said, that links back to what we were talking about before. Now, like I said, it depends on man versus zone coverage, and all types of different things can happen with this, but it's a general concept that you should absolutely be aware of. And if you're trying to target a specific part of the field, you can get it open, or you can influence it to be open by running players in certain directions. This is especially important for, 2-minute drills and stuff like that, where you're trying to run plays to the sideline. If you're trying to run plays to the sideline, you're obviously going to want to take your outside receivers and run them as deep as possible, because that takes the cornerbacks out of the play. And then you would have a receiver, like an Olsen or maybe more here, and you would want to target this outside part of the field, because if they break out to this part of the field, you've already run the corner way out of there. You have an opening to the sideline. You know what I'm trying to say? You guys can run off defenders, run off coverage, and create space in that manner, and you can get real advanced with it whenever you start hot routing multiple times in a play. You can really confuse the defense that way and get openings. So hopefully this helped you guys out in some way. Like I said, nice quick tutorial just to build off of what I was talking about before. If this does help you, or if this does improve your passing game or give you some ideas of what to do to help develop your passing game, make sure that you guys leave a like on the video, comment down below for anything you guys would like to see next, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I really hope you have a good night. Peace.